Hey, and good afternoon. This is Angela from Ask a House Cleaner, and I'm super excited that you guys have joined me today. Today, I'm here with Shari Cedar, and she is brilliant. She was on our show the other day, and I'm super excited to have her back. She came from TV production. I know, so she's got attention to detail. And she's got that eye for I can see when something needs to be fixed. She runs one of the largest cleaning companies, commercial cleaning companies in the state of Florida that's independently owned and operated. And she runs the business with her husband. And she's just a wealth of information. So I want to ask you guys to jump in and ask your questions today. I've got about 20 of my own questions. So we're going to go just as fast as we can. And we're probably going to run out before it is all over. But anyway, thanks for joining us today. And please help me welcome to our show, Shari Rhodes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is wonderful to be here as super treat, and I love your background. I will just continue to say that it's brilliant, colorful, and cheery and happy, which is what cleaning should represent.
Well, when I started my cleaning business, I was not very smart and I did not know how green screen works. So I said, if I had one picture, if a picture says 1,000 words, what is the picture that I want to use? And it was a picture of cleaning supplies. And so what I have behind me is a 10-foot by 8-foot stretch fabric trade show display. And I figured that since I didn't know how green screen, I'd just like stand in front of the same screen all the time and then it would say cleaning.
Well, you know what? You did yourself a favor because green screen, as like brilliant as everybody thinks they are, they're not entirely practical for podcasts and webcasts because if you're animated, which I tend to be, and you're like, suddenly you're like, wait, where'd your hand go? It disappears. So you'll be talking to somebody on a Zoom call and you see a body part go missing. That's their green screen.
Well, and it's weird because I have a green screen. I also have a 10-foot by 8-foot green screen that I use for another podcast. And you're correct. When you move around, parts of you disappear. So if I'm going to clap or something, like I can clap up here, but then I have to like clap in front of my face if I'm on a Zoom call. So like my hands don't disappear. So
yeah, it's totally jarring to people who are not familiar with what's going on. They'll be like, and they can't even hear what you're saying. They're just looking at like the very odd situation your face is in.
Well, it was funny. We did a show, and this is off topic, and then we'll get back on topic. So forgive me, you guys. We did a show with a guy that's absolutely brilliant, and he was on the Ask a House Cleaner show, and he had a green screen, and then he had his logo behind him that had like all these words on it, and it was like a step and repeat banner, and so there's all this distraction and words and stuff. And then every time he would move his head, like his ears would disappear and like half of his head would disappear. I'm like, whoa. And so like I was watching him the whole time and it was just mesmerizing and so distracting.
Right. And you did not hear a word that he was saying, which is something we're going to touch on in a little bit when some of the questions you had sent me about managing people and whatnot. It's how you talk to people. Right. Anyway, but I'm jumping ahead
to how you talk to people. But I want to say hi to our friends. We've got Dakisha here. She says, awesome. We've got Mimi's 105 Dobbins. It says, hello, Angela. I hope you're well. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us and God bless. You know what? Thank you for joining us and God bless you too. All right. On to today's show.
Hi, Mimi.
So those of you that are just joining us for the first time, let's hear a quick update on Shari and how she got into the commercial cleaning business, because it's an interesting story.
Thanks, Angela. Well, as you mentioned, I have a background in TV production, and I had a 20-year plus career in production doing just incredible things. I work with National Geographic Channel and Bravo, NBC, ABC, fascinating shows. And meanwhile, my husband was growing a commercial cleaning company. And I think you reach a point in your life where you just say, whoa, there's only so much I can handle having 2 children and growing 2 businesses. And then I kind of think it was a gradual aha moment. I don't know, that contradicts, right? But there was an evolution, especially when my husband said, why are you working for other people when we can grow something together for our family? And I said, wow, you know what? That's so true. And I embraced our company. It's not anything I thought I would do. And I always thought I would be the wife, never dreamed I'd be the president running it alongside of my husband. But I found creativity in business. I love working with people. There's a lot of parallels between TV production and commercial cleaning, believe it or not.
Like what?
Pre-production, production, post-production. Okay, a house cleaner, whether it's commercial or residential, you have a new client. Pre-production, what materials do I need? What tools? How much time do I need? Is there any special requests that that owner, property owner will have? How many people do I need for the job? What's the proper, of course, you always wear proper footwear, etc. How do I get there? You know, then production is when you're in it, you're cleaning. That's the same thing as making your TV show. The pre-production in TV is interviewing, figuring out what the show is. Production, you're making your TV show, you're shooting. Production for us is the actual cleaning the job. Post-production, you go back, you edit, you put it together, you look ahead. Post-production would be, how did I do with this customer? Were they happy? What can I do to improve next time, looking ahead to the future?
Wow, what a good wrap up. That was awesome. But you're absolutely right. And there are parallels to that also in the residential cleaning business as well.
Totally. And I'm just going to say, no matter what business you're in the people business, it's a service industry. And there's basic tenets of customer service that whether you're making a TV show, selling widgets, or cleaning residential or commercial properties, people are people, right? You manage people, you work with people, you serve people.
Well, aside from being a people business, the commercial cleaning industry has some differences from residential cleaning, which is also a people business. So if
Yes,
all things being equal, and let's assume that everybody everywhere wants to get value for what they pay for. They want to get a clean service that they don't have to follow behind people and go, hey, you missed a spot, right? They want what they're paying for and they want it to be done properly every time. And they are expecting you to show up and be reliable and be safe and be accurate every single time. I'm going to assume that
correct.
that's the same on both sides. But tell us a little bit about the types of properties that you guys clean, because most of what we do at Savvy Cleaner is residential. They are homes. Some of them are big homes and some of them are multifamily homes. So there might be Airbnbs, there might be duplexes, apartment complexes, and things like that, but typically not like dentist offices or schools or daycares or things like that. So tell us about the properties that you have.
Well, first of all, in terms of residential, we do a lot of condominium associations and homeowner associations, which is, people's apartments together and common areas. So we do deal with that in the residential side quite a bit.
Mm.
We do medical, so that means medical facilities and hospitals. A lot of schools, ranging from university, high school, preschool, single tenant, multi-tenant buildings, industrial, like big industrial warehouse areas, corporate headquarters, and auto dealerships. I think those are the verticals.
Whoa. All right. So there's a lot of different stuff there, a lot of stuff to
Yes.
unpack. So tell us for some of the similarities so that as we can kind of see like, hey, what are the differences on things we think we know? Like tell us about the condominiums in the apartment complexes where you have multifamily units there and you deal with the common areas. What types of common areas do you clean?
A gym, a clubhouse, the entryway, the hallways, the common area bathrooms, elevators, stairwells.
Wow. Okay, cool. That's really different from a lot of the stuff that we do. So how do you guys bid a job like that?
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Now you're going to cause me to think. Every property is different.
Mhm.
In a residential, generally you walk in, you figure out the square footage, you know how long it's going to take you, you do a price. So it's somewhat similar in commercial. You just like residential, you walk the property beforehand. You would never give a price without seeing it
Mhm.
because you don't know what type of floors they have, you don't know what countertops they have, you don't know how many tchotchkes they have, or fine things, or is it very industrial and concrete? So anyway, you walk the property. Oftentimes, a commercial property will have an RFP, request for proposal, and they have a scope of work already outlined. And they generally have an idea. Do they want day porter services? A day porter is somebody who's on property during business hours versus nighttime cleaning. And day porter services, they're generally the upkeep of the building during the day. So you go to the bathroom, there's toilet paper, there's not mud on the floor. So once you get all of your details, your facts and your figures, you go back then and you factor in how many bodies you need, how many hours you need. Then you put in all of your tax, social security. I'm forgetting the word for what it's called right now. There's a word for all of that bundled together, but you add that in, and then you add a percentage of what's your margin. Margins are not huge in this industry. Oftentimes, you're looking at volume business, but and then we put together a proposal. We use something called Panda Docs, which is this amazing proposal software. I love it. And we put in all of the elements, is it Monday through Friday, etc. Send it off. That's how we bid.
So do you, when you do a bid, do you plan in advance, like here's what we need to get out of the job and here's what we're hoping for, so that you can staff it properly? Or do you just go in and say, okay, here's our bid and here's what we're going for, and then you try to figure out the gaps after that, how many people you're going to have to hire and all that stuff
No.
after the fact?
We don't go in blind. Well, you try to educate yourself as much as you can beforehand. Every customer is different. With experience, you glean knowledge, right? And just by virtue of the industry or the type of property, like what's going to work and what's not going to work. You have a very good gut feeling about that. But so you go in with best intentions, and sometimes you have to tweak. Now, if you're really off, like you might have to eat that. Or if circumstances change, let's just say you're in a multi-tenant building and there were many empty office suites. So you bid it based on the number, like the rent roll. But then all of a sudden, boom, they lease out everything and everyone wants cleaning. Well, you're going to have to go back to the property manager or the building manager and say, hey, listen, we have to increase the number of cleaners and hours, and here's what it's going to cost. And most people are amenable to that. I mean, most people, property managers, understand how that works.
And so do you guys like sign contracts for a certain period of time, like the next 6 months or the next year? Or how do you guys lock in business for a period of time? Because if you're going to hire people, I'm guessing you would like to have a contract.
It's always nice to be able to guarantee. It really depends. Sometimes you have a 3-year contract. Sometimes you have a 5-year contract. Some days you get a 30-day. You can have a contract, but they have a 30-day out in them. So you're only as good as your last clean, and you're only as good as how you handle a problem and its resolution. The truth is anyone can fire you at any time. So the onus is on you as the cleaning company to have measures in place so people are always happy. And if they're not, you can resolve it very quickly because, we're human. Everyone's human.
So in the residential cleaning business, and this is a little bit different for homes, where sometimes, and I know especially since the pandemic, a lot of people started working from homes. So we go in and we bid a contract, and then we kind of see our customers on a regular basis. And I know in commercial cleaning, oftentimes you bid a contract and then you never see them again, and it's only paperwork from here on out.
No,
so how do you?
No,
you do see them?
I call no on that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Tell me how it goes.
Well, we have area managers who are in charge. I mean, we have to see our customers often because you build relationships and you want them to call you if there's a dust bunny that's been sitting there. I don't want them to sit and stew over it. I want them to be able to call and say, "Hey, Sherry, these guys missed it. Could they just pay a little closer attention?" Or to our area managers. Look, some people don't want to be bothered. Janitorial is not always the vendor that people want to see. They're like, you know what? As long as you're doing a good job, don't talk to me.
Mhm.
But we let our customers know we're here for you. We like to check in.
And so when you check in, is that like a quality assurance thing? You just call and just touch bases and just say, "Hey, remember us? We're here," and give us
And I mean, that can come in so many different forms.
uh-huh.
Really, we have a quality assurance supervisor. That is her job. She goes out and sometimes it's at night, so the customers don't see her, but we're doing checks and balances on our own teams to make sure that we're living up to the standards that we um, are so proud of. We have to keep that up. Sometimes she goes during the day to see property managers or just to say hello, hi, I'm here if you need anything. Um, Sometimes it's an email, hey, how are you? Just checking in. Sometimes it's a text, a phone call, a drop by. It really depends on the customer. Everyone is different. You have to
Mhm.
cater to that. You have to be able to read people.
And I love that because a lot of commercial, especially where we are, is done after hours after the business closes for the day. And so people have already gone for the day and you don't get to see them. So if you do get to see them, it's usually like two ships passing in the night where
Yeah.
you're showing up as they're leaving for the day and, hey, how you doing? Kind of a thing. So I love the fact that
Well,
you guys have a system built in place where you can stay in touch with your customers.
oh, absolutely. And you do get the customers who are working late, right? Or they always see the cleaners and they form a really nice bond.
Hmm.
It's usually there's no no one else in the building and someone comes in and takes out the trash. They have a nice chit chat, and there are relationships formed. We've had some really beautiful letters sent about some of our cleaners, or they start to wish each other happy birthday. It's very special when that happens.
Nice. All right. Well, you just mentioned taking out the trash. And I know that's a question that we run into a lot is on commercial properties. Do you take out the trash and what happens to that? Do you take it off site? Do you have a dumpster at the back somewhere where maybe the cleaning service has a key or they have access to that? What are the rules and does your insurance change because you're taking property off site if you are? How does that work for you guys?
Um, 99.9% of commercial properties have a trash removal system, meaning you take the trash out and you put it in the dumpster in the back, generally behind the building. Um, you do have to be mindful. Is the door going to close behind you? We
Mm,
actually have our cleaners put the key cards that they have on a lanyard around their neck because I left it on the desk and then they can't get in to avoid that. Like we really drill that in. Keep the key around your neck. Or in cases we have aprons and they put the keys in the aprons. But yeah, it's a very standard procedure. And also, you can't drag the trash. There's a process. You have to wear gloves so our cleaners are not getting contaminated. Always make sure you lift it, and it goes into the dumpster. And if people have excessive trash, once in a while, that's fine. But if it starts to really become a problem, we speak to the building and say, maybe you need a day porter during the day. Um, Maybe we need to bring an extra person in. Trash removal takes an extraordinary amount of time. People really underestimate it, but to done properly, yeah, it takes time.
What are your procedures for hazardous materials? I know you said you clean some hospitals. And so if you're taking out trash and there's hazmat, how do you guys deal with that? Or do they deal with that on their own?
Um, in some cases, we deal with it. There's something called HAZCOM, and all of our cleaners get certified in HAZCOM in how to deal with the trash. From basic things like when you put on gloves and you remove your gloves, you don't want to touch them here. You turn them inside out. It's something like you see the medical doctors do. So there are little tricks to the trade to keep everybody safe. But if you're not certified, you may not take out hazardous material. And often hospitals will have a service that just deals with hazardous waste.
Okay. I know that the rules are always different. And as residential cleaners, we leave the garbage or trash on site. We do take it out, but we leave it in their receptacle bins. We do not take it off the property. I think there are actually insurance rates that hike if you are a trash collector and you take trash off site. So we encourage all house cleaners everywhere, do not take it off site. It does not go in your car, and then you have to dispose of it somewhere. So do not throw your trash. Do not take it with you.
No, and there's a good chance if you're taking the trash and dumping it in someone else's dumpster, you will get a fine for it. Because remember, there are cameras everywhere.
Mhm.
Everyone sees everything. And if you're dragging trash on the floor, they will see.
Mhm.
If you're dumping trash illegally in someone else's dumpster, they will see. And
I'm
they
so
pay
glad
for it. So they will not be happy about that.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I know that a lot of dumpsters have locks on them. Like if we're not using it right now, there's a lock on
Oh
it.
yeah.
I think it's the state of Michigan or Wisconsin. I forget which one, but one of them has it's a felony charge if you get caught, and there's prison time if you get caught illegal dumping, which is huge.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to Florida on what the fine is, but people get very angry if
Oh yeah.
you're touching their dumpster. They
Yeah.
get- Because also they don't know what you're putting in there. Are you, first of all, are you cleaning out a crime scene, Or if you dump your trash and someone else had a crime scene in there and your fingerprints are there, good God, you don't want that.
Right.
No, but in all seriousness, if somebody in your property threw away, let's just say a paint can, which, to them might have seemed harmless, the paint can's empty, you dump the paint can, well, you're not allowed to throw out a paint can, especially if there's paint in it. You as the cleaner can get the fine. So you want to protect yourself.
I'm so glad you brought that up. There are lots of little nuances that sometimes we don't pay attention to. And it's the reason that I really encourage all cleaners, residential or commercial, to go through training so that they can learn the nuances of all the things that, oh, I just never thought of that, because that's not a good enough answer and that's not an escape route. So I'm glad you brought that up.
No, and the truth is, you don't know what you don't know. Like, if you said to me, "What keeps you up at night?" It's because I don't know what I don't know. So the more I can educate myself, the more I know.
Well, what
And
keeps me up at night is the stuff I do know, and that keeps me up all night. I'm like, "Oh, no, I wish I didn't
well,
know."
you know what? Maybe you're right about that too.
Speaking of which, the residential industry for cleaners often attracts a certain type of person that is available to work during the day hours. So tell us about the commercial industry and the different types of people that you might be able to hire, that maybe this is a second job or something for them.
Sure. Generally speaking, commercial cleanings at night, after hours, and the hours really are typically 6 to 10 p.m. And it's really an ideal opportunity for somebody who wants to supplement their income. They can have a 40-hour a week job or whatever full-time position, and then they could come and work 4 hours at night. Sometimes it's only 2 hours. It depends. So we find that a lot of our staff, this is a second job for them, and it works out very well. You do need to take into consideration travel time. I want to point that out. If you're going to work 2 to 3 hours, you have to make it worth your while. You don't want to pay all that gas money,
Mhm.
use it up in gas money. You don't want to be stuck in traffic. You don't want to get home too late. So those are considerations. In the commercial cleaning industry, we also have day porters, and that's a daytime job, and that's typically a 40-hour a week job. Probably benefits, insurance, depending on where you go. And that's another great opportunity if you like to interact with people during the day, be part of a team. And you are part of a team at night too. Don't get me wrong. It's just a little bit quieter, a little more solitude.
And so are those day porters employees of AK Building Services, or are they employees of the company that hired them?
No, they're employees of AK Building Services. You will go into a company and you might see the day porter wearing the company shirt because that's what that client prefers, but they're
Mhm.
our employee. Or you may see the AK shirt. Um, our day porters always wear polo shirts. They always are tucked in and look clean and professional. But you can always see the day porter.
Mhm. Well, and I think that's an important thing to say because there are a lot of companies that want to be represented by a professional looking company. And so whether
Yes.
you're a day or a night company, if you look professional, it's going to show up on camera, number one. They are going to
Mhm.
watch you. I promise you this. They are going to watch you. Somebody somewhere is going to watch you clean. They're going to watch your every move, whether you're in a home or you're in an office, and they're going to give you feedback, right? And so it is important to look professional and to do the job that you were hired to do and to be thorough and effective and consistent. Those are like the keys. Because if you start skipping stuff and you're like, oh, like I'm looking around and nobody's here, so I'm just gonna like screw around on my phone for a half hour and then I'll like dust the
Oh,
topic
no.
something.
Somebody is always watching, for better or for worse. You know, people work so hard, right? Cleaners work so hard. And occasionally, if a company had a party and they've left water out in or a soda, like to me, that's indicative of help yourself. Like in the world
Mhm.
I've grown up, if you put drinks out on the table, but you get a call the next day. Well, the cleaner took the bottle of water, and you think, well, geez, it was sitting out there, they were thirsty, and, "Oh, okay, you're right, I shouldn't have called you about that." But, so people do roll back tape, they do spot check, and I think homes, they do that probably more so than commercial properties. I'm willing to bet residential people are looking a lot more closely than commercial.
I know at Savvy Cleaner, which is the company that I have training house cleaners and maids, we have a policy, and the policy is not so much as a piece of Halloween candy. If it was not given to you, it is not yours. Do not
Yeah.
take it. It is not yours. Well, it was next to the trash. So I thought they were going to throw it away, but it was not in the trash and they did not give it to you. If they did not physically give it to you and say, "Hey, I want you to have this. I thought of you. Maybe you can use it." It is not yours. Do not take it.
Even if it's in the trash, on the curb, don't take it. That's how I look at it. If sometimes if you have a special relationship, you say, "Hey, if you're tossing that, can I have it?" But in general, it's better just not to.
Well, and I know for residential, the neighbors talk. And so they will talk to their other neighbors and say, so and so did such and such. And if it's good, then you get a job as a result of it. It's a referral. And if it's
Yes, that's
bad, the job that you had may go away, right? The neighbors may fire you.
no, but you know what? That was what I wanted to bring up with looking clean and professional. Our AK employees, like right now, I have my AK manager shirt on. And the women, we give them a beautiful tunic to wear, or a golf shirt, or a button down. And the men wear a button down. Our porters wear a collar. Our cleaners have a t-shirt. Um, People have always commented, wow, everyone looks so professional. We really appreciate it. That's going to help you get more business.
Mhm.
And if have your own cleaning company and you're a house cleaner and you're branded in a beautiful way, and look clean and professional, people notice. They notice that and they say, "Oh, wow, maybe I'll call she or he."
In addition to that, I want to highlight two things, and they're touchy
Okay.
situations, but I think it applies both to residential and commercial. And this has been my experience 32 years in the industry. Hygiene really matters.
Oh,
If you
God, yeah.
if you look like you've had a shower and your hair is done and you've brushed your teeth and you are clean, it's a reflection of your business. If your hair is all wonkadoodle and it's a mess and your breath is bad and you've been out smoking or something and you just step in and you reek, people are going to go, whoa, that's the person that I've trusted to clean my space. And they look like they just rolled out of bed and they look like they're falling apart, right? Make sure your package that you're delivering, and that's your advertisement, is clean and your hygiene is on. And so that means whatever that means for you. In our company, we encourage people to take showers and wear deodorant before they show up for work. Okay. That's like part of our training. The next thing is smile. It's free. It doesn't cost anything and it's free, right? So if you're doing a job and you're inspecting your work, smile like, ta-da, I did this and it looks great. And we go one step beyond because we know we're on camera and we give ourselves a thumbs up like, yes, I did this and it looks great. people are like, OMG, check it out. My house cleaner's at my house and just gave themselves a thumbs up. And they show their friends, and their friends are like, who's your house cleaner? I got to hire that person. And we've picked up so much business because we give ourselves a thumbs up when we check off our checklist. People watch, and then they tell their friends. And how you present yourself will either promote or expose you.
I love that. Yes, but also when you take pride in what you do, that's in your appearance, that's in your presentation, and your product is much better if you really take pride. And what we do is very important. We're promoting a healthy and safe and clean environment for whether it's home or business. People less illness, people are more productive in a clean space. People
Mhm.
are happier in a clean space. People have a clear head in a clean space. They're proud. They market themselves better. All of the above, and cleaners should take pride in that. And that starts with your appearance and how you feel. I mean, it's so important.
How you feel always comes back to, did I get paid on time as well? And I know in the
Yes.
I know in the residential business, we clean and we get paid either the same day or it's an auto pay that they pay on a regular basis. Tell us about the commercial business and the differences, because I know a lot of companies do like 30, 60, 90-day terms. How does that work?
We pay our employees biweekly, so that's every other week. Uh, I would say most people are on direct deposit or have pay cards. So automatically you have a card, and then that every other Friday it's filled up like a ATM or card or a credit card. So that's how we pay our employees, and how we get paid is 30 days. Sometimes the customer chooses 60, 90, 120, and then I have to say, well, we may not be showing up tomorrow. Um, so we do, as a company, often float, right? Because we pay people no matter what. But yeah, it is not same day. It's just not how the industry works.
So if you were a residential cleaning company thinking about adding some commercial to your roster, you need to be prepared for the
Mm,
differences in the pay terms. Because the
yes.
word I just heard you say, and it shouted just like a bazooka at me, like, whoa, was we float people. Tell us what floating people
Okay.
means for those that don't know that term.
Uh, for example, we are cleaning a building, and we have been there. Let me give a real example I could think of. And most customers are amazing, right? And they do understand, as business owners, you need, you know, accounts receivable to be paid. But you're cleaning a property. Um, 1 month goes by, they didn't pay their bill. So you did not receive money, but we still are paying the employees. I would never say to an employee, well, I didn't get paid, so I can't pay you. That would never happen. So even if my cash flow is not coming in as the business owner, I still have to have enough cash reserves so I can pay my employees on time and without any issues. So it's very important to have your financial ducks in a row, so to speak. So you're on top of your invoicing, you're on top of your billing, you're on top of your accounts receivable. It's very important. What you don't want to have happen is become a company where you can't pay your employees because they will just stop showing up.
What I just heard you say was organization. You have to be highly organized in order to run a janitorial
Oh,
business.
yeah.
So if you're a cleaner that flies by the seat of your pants, this is not for you. Is that right?
Yeah, if you're fly by the seat of your pants, no business is for you. Anytime you have employees and you're dealing with insurance issues and customers and people who depend on you for a service, you have to be organized. You have to be really buttoned up. I
So
mean, and when I say organize, I mean, that's for everything. That's for training. That's for the products you use. That's for communications with people. That's for returning phone calls. I mean, organization is a big, important word that's applicable to everything you do.
well, and that brings me to the cleaning supplies, because we're organized as professional cleaners and we go inside people's homes and we have a little tiny cleaning caddy and we fill up all of our supplies the night before. We fold up our microfiber cloths and then we're ready to go. In a commercial business, I know depending on the type of business, some companies have their own closet that has cleaning supplies, and it's got a great big garbage can, and it has different kinds of garbage bags that we don't use in residential, and it has a cleaning caddy that might have mop pads that are different than the ones we use in homes. Tell us about some of the differences in the cleaning supplies themselves for commercial versus residential.
Well, difference. Okay. So I love a dispenser system. A dispenser system we love to put in our janitorial closets. And what does that mean? Well, when you're dealing in vast quantities, you're not going to, it's not economical to go to the store and buy, 50 bottles of Windex. So what we have is a concentrated product in a dispenser that is diluted just perfectly because it has water hoses mixed into it and it's foolproof. Meaning it's can never be too strong, it can never be too weak, it's just right. And we in the commercial sector, we love Spartan cleaning products. We also love True Shot by Johnson and Johnson. I think the key is to have gentle, Green Seal approved cleaning products for the most part, not 100%. We'll get to that in a minute. That are labeled appropriately with SDS books that are appropriate for a commercial environment. Did that
And for
answer
those of you,
correctly?
yes, and for those of you that are joining us, SDS are safety data sheets that every chemical manufacturer from the globally harmonized system requires their cleaning companies, all the companies that do chemicals, to have a safety data sheet that has 16 different segments on it that tell you the hazards and how to use it and how to store it and all of the different things you need to know in order to be safe. So if you're not familiar with safety data sheets, that's what SDS is. And if you are a commercial company, you are required to have, I believe you got to have those on site.
Oh,
Is that correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have them on site. OSHA requirements that you have to have that on site. And the reason, everyone, just so you know, is, God forbid, somebody splashes a cleaner in their eye. You need to know right away what exactly was in that product so you could remedy it. Which is why, of course, also the types of products are so important. Another subject to talk about. But also, if it's bring your kid to work day, not the cleaners, because the cleaner would never bring their child to work. That's against the rules.
Thank you for
However,
saying that.
somebody else does, and the child wanders into the closet, although they're generally locked. But I don't know. Let's just pretend. But a kid drinks something purple that looks like Gatorade, but it's not. An SDS book is gonna, when you get to poison control, immediately they'll know why. Okay, so we just covered like 20 things not to do, and I want to reiterate these are no things my company does. That was not good English, but janitorial closets stay locked. People don't have access to the cleaning supplies. Everything's labeled for safety. And the reason you would label as well, you want to use the correct cleaning product for the correct surface. Like you don't ever want to make a mistake because you don't want to ruin the surface or what you're cleaning. Glass cleaners for glass. You would never use Windex on a mirror. It will scratch it. Never mix bleach and ammonia. You'll pass out.
And so having the training to make sure that you are safe, what precautions do you take to put in place so that a house cleaner, I'm sorry, what is the term? A janitor?
We call them a commercial cleaner, a
A
janitor,
commercial cleaner?
team member,
What do they prefer to be called?
the cleaners. We call them
Cleaners.
cleaners.
Okay, cool. So what precautions do you have in place for a cleaner to follow those rules instead of just making stuff up? Because, well, I got this in my hand and it worked on this, so maybe it'll work on this too.
Well, that right in there is like one of the single most important things you can do as a large commercial cleaning company is training and supervision and accountability. Like that is one of the most important reasons why you would have a commercial cleaning company as opposed to, somebody's cousin's neighbor. Um, when somebody starts, there's two ways this goes. You start a new account, You have group training with everybody. We have certifications that people get. They take classes, they have ongoing training. We do hands-on training. Area managers, I mean, we train and we train and we train to the point where the area managers are like, "Ugh, again?" Like, yes, more. And you're going to love it because it's important. We have a quality assurance and trainer who that's her entire job. That's all she does is to make sure that everyone's doing things correctly. And if she finds something that's not being done correctly, we retrain and retrain. And if they're not trainable, we maybe would help them find other employment elsewhere.
I trained for a company that was a very large company, and they had a lot of trainers. And so there was a lot of room for error. And one of the things that they did, and we don't do it in residential, but it was a brilliant idea, is they had a little tiny scan code on the insides of all of the different rooms. So as the house cleaner, the cleaner would come in, they would scan, they had a little tiny scanner in their pocket. They would scan this little code. I'm in here now. And it was linked to their personal account. So like I, Angela, am in this room. I am cleaning this bathroom. Then when they would go to use the cleaning supply, they would scan the cleaning supply. Like I, Angela, used this cleaning supply on this surface. And while there were cameras and everything all over, what was really interesting about it is there were like 6 touch points before they got out of one little area where they had to scan all these different things. And I'm like, whoa, this is really high tech and high touch. But it was really interesting because it held every single person accountable. If you are the area manager and you're coming in to inspect an area and something is scratched or something is damaged or the wrong supply has been used on a surface, you know who is cleaning, you know what supplies they used. And it also was the way that they tracked their inventory for cleaning supplies. Because if you scan this and you have used all these different cleaning supplies, you're going to run out at a certain time. But it also prevented the cleaners from, taking some of those supplies home and then using them to run their own cleaning businesses. So it was really an interesting way to kind of manage and then hold everybody accountable to the same standards.
Yeah, I don't think that Mark and I would feel good about that because yes, I mean, we do use the scan codes for many, many customers because they need to show if they get an inspection, right? Yes,
Mhm.
we've been cleaning this many times. And we do that for a lot of customers. And it helps track to know how quickly or slowly people are moving. Are they covering things correctly? But I think if you had to scan everything the same way they do in the hospital every time they take your temperature, you know, I think that really slows things down. And I think productivity and efficiency would be really hampered that way. But
Well, and this was a huge company that
yeah.
needed to track those kinds of things. And I think that every step along the way, there are probably adjustments. If you're a certain size company, you do things a certain way. And certainly if you're a solo cleaner, you do them a different way. Um, what systems do you have for cleaners that are taking just a cleaning caddy and they're going to clean maybe a little office building somewhere, and it's not a great big storage closet, and they've got robot vacuums and vacuums that vacuum themselves and all those things?
Well, everyone's trained. There's a checklist. We have an area manager. We still do quality assurance. So we train and we trust and we have supervision. I really think like that's enough. In
Mhm.
a good way. We love our team members. We trust our team members. A lot of them have been with us a very long time and they take pride in what they do. And I attribute that to company culture and appreciation and saying thank you. Um, but yeah, I think it comes down to the training.
In addition to taking care of your employees and having them take care of you back, how do you take care of them when they are working on site at night? Let's say that they're on a job by themselves and the building is closed and you're trying to ensure their personal safety and then also the safety of the property and the belongings inside.
Doors are always locked. The properties that we clean at night, the door is locked, and that's without question. And they may not open it for anybody. So if there's ever an issue, they would call. Generally speaking, in the larger properties, there's multiple people, there's a supervisor on site. But if you do have somebody who's working solo in a property, um, we do a situational awareness training for our managers, which then we teach people, if you see something, you say something. If you have that gut inside of you that you're uncomfortable,
Mhm.
call for help immediately. Don't be looking at your cell phone as you're walking to your car in the parking lot. Make sure you have your keys out of your purse or your pocket before you get to your car. I don't think there are properties that we clean that we would never take on a customer where we felt there was safety as an issue,
Mhm.
right? But in the world that we live in today, we have to remind people the extra steps to be vigilant, keep their eyes open, and pay attention.
I'm so glad you brought that up because you're right. We live in a world that's becoming increasingly more dangerous. And although we can do all the training in the world, the situational awareness can save you. And I'm really glad
Oh,
you brought that up because if you have been trained properly and you like you said, we wear the lanyards with the key card. If for some reason you get locked out when you go out to take out the trash, you have safety to get back inside. And so it's things like that where you have your car key on your person at all times. If you get locked out and there is an issue and you have to run to your car and get in your car and drive away, at least you have the ability to do that as well. Don't put yourself in harm's way. I love that you have training and you've covered all of those bases. That's
oh yeah.
awesome.
I mean, we love situational awareness. It's just as humans. In fact, we did the training. I loved it so much. I brought it to all my girlfriends and their kids and boyfriends too, friends who are boys. Let me, in case Mark's watching, reiterate that. But I was like, this is so important. Like every human should take this class on these tips of how to be mindful of your awareness. Now, let's just say someone's working in the building and they see a tenant in the building, and this tenant always looks nice, or even a fellow cleaner. They always have their hair neatly back, they're well dressed. They come in one day and their hair's disheveled, they're messy, you know, that's like, okay, that something's off. Call your
Mhm.
supervisor right away and let them know. Maybe that person went off medication. Maybe that person went on a bender. Maybe that person had a bad day. But we're not going to allow somebody to be in the path of a potential incident.
Mhm.
So people know, you see something, you say something.
And also with situational awareness, especially in office buildings, comes a different set of standards as far as your personal safety. For example, if you have to reach something, oh, there's a cobweb up there and I don't have my long pole. I think I'll stand on this chair that has wheels on it and get that
No,
web down.
no,
The answer is don't do it, okay? Don't do it
no.
because situational awareness, if you're alone, especially in a building, and you stand on a chair with wheels on it and you happen to roll out and you fall down and smack your head, you're going to be in a building by yourself and no one can come help you, right? So you have to always be on your best awareness and say, you know what, that's a I call it a dumb rookie move. That is a dumb rookie move. Don't do that. And so you you have to use your best judgment and your common sense, which hopefully is in tow wherever you go.
Well, okay, to that, also, like, there's something on the ground and it's too heavy to move, don't
Mhm,
move it. Like, don't hurt your back because that's a real common mistake. Please don't do it. Don't wear flip-flops to work. Wear closed-toe, skid-proof shoes, which is required.
mhm,
In some of our for some of our uh, buildings or customers, we supply the shoes. Just wear the right. What are some other things? Oh, be mindful when you're mopping. This is why I love microfiber mops and not the string mops because I don't like the water everywhere. But,
mhm.
have a system in how you're working so there's no slip and fall. All these little details are just so important because if you cannot work, you cannot earn a living. Your body is your most important asset.
I'm so glad you said that. I believe the same. Speaking of assets, I'm curious how you go about getting commercial cleaning jobs. I know lots of house cleaners ask me on a regular basis, like, "Hey, I want more commercial business." How do you get jobs?
Oh, I wish I had like the magic bullet, right? The silver bullet for that. Look, I think customer word of mouth is first and foremost. When a customer is happy, they are very likely to say to their colleagues and friends, "We love our company. We love our cleaning company." Like, you can picture people are at happy hour at drinks, right? Ugh, the cleaning company left the bathroom smelling like urine again. Those urine guards haven't been changed. Oh, I'm so mad. We love our company. You should call AK Building Services. Like, that's the best way. And then, of course, we are always out there making connections, always letting people know who we are. So when they're ready, um, they can call us. And of course, we have a sales team as well who are out there working very hard because everybody needs cleaning. Everyone on here is in a great industry.
Mhm.
Everyone, every home needs to be cleaned and every business needs to be cleaned. It is a wonderfully recession-proof business.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because there are a lot of people that don't stop to realize there's a budget for cleaning. At every company, there's a budget for cleaning. Companies have to be cleaned. It's like a thing, right? So
It's a thing. Although
so
sometimes they want like a Rolls Royce and they're only willing to pay for like, a 1994 Camry. So you have to set people's expectations. That's a big part of bidding carefully.
so tell me what happens when somebody has a 94 budget and they're looking for the 2003 Rolls Royce.
It's not business I want. If they, you can sort of see those customers right away. You can explain. Often they'll say, "Well, you'll give them what you really think they need, what you recommend." And I say, "Well, I only have this budget, this amount." And you say, "Okay, if we go to that budget, maybe your floors will be vacuumed once a week and not every day. Are you okay with that?" You really have to paint the picture of what this budget amount is going to afford them,
Mhm.
and they'll have to make a decision whether that they can live with that or not. You put it in the scope of work, so there's full transparency. It's like an upfront contract. You set expectations. And if they are just like, "Well, could you squeeze it in for me, please?" Da, 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 then we might just say, "You know what? There are people who could do it for less. And, we wish you the best." I'll never want to put myself in that situation because it's really the cleaners who end up suffering because then they come back to the cleaners. "Oh, could you do a little more, a little more?" And then the cleaners are going over budget. And you say, "Why are you going over budget? I'm not making any money on this building." And wait a second. Why am I losing money on this customer? And it doesn't make sense for anybody.
I want to stop for just a second on what you just said because this is really important and I don't want it to slip by. The person that's bidding the job is holding everyone else on the team accountable. And what I'm hearing Sherry say is that they're setting expectations that are reasonable and realistic so that when the cleaner comes in, the cleaner can follow and deliver what was promised. And if somebody somewhere along the way breaks that chain of command and they start adding things on, the company takes a hit because the company has made special promises and they've bid a price that is fair for what has been agreed on. And there's a contract in place. And
Mhm.
when the cleaner comes in and does extras, while that might be lovely, and don't we wish we all could do that, that's not what's being served up on the menu. That's not what they paid for. And so if you're doing extra things or you're fitting in extra requests that are not part of the job, those need to go back through the company. Got to get on the phone and you got to call your supervisor and say, "Hey, wait a second, I have some special requests here. Is this allowed?" And if it's not allowed, you'll be given an instruction that no, that's not allowed, or they'll get on the phone with the person and they'll resolve it without you. Okay. You just go about and do the business you were hired to do because otherwise it costs a whole lot of money and it's not scalable. And if nobody, check this out, if nobody's making money on the work that you do, even if it's fantastic, you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, and there's a few points to add on to that. We pride ourselves on going above and beyond. We often do that. And that's great. When you hire a larger, more established company, you have some flexibility to do these things. However, when it comes to every day and the norm, that's a different story. So you have to use your judgment. You know what? This is a great customer. We're grateful for their business. Yes, we could do a little more. And because that's what you do, right? You always give a little more. But when dishes are not in the scope of work in a kitchen for commercial. They're just not. Otherwise, you have a professional dishwasher. Sometimes the cleaners will go in and they'll do it once in a while, but then people start thinking the cleaners are going to do it. Now the dishes are stacked up. Then you say, "Why am I over budget? What's going on? Why do you need 2 extra hours?" They say, "Well, we do the dishes." You say, "No, no more." Then the customer come back and says, "Well, they stopped doing dishes because they expected the dishes to be done." And now everyone's upset.
I like to look at it like going to a restaurant. When you go to a restaurant, they give you a menu and you say, I would like to have the entree. They don't bring you out appetizers just because they want to give you a little something extra. They don't. If you didn't pay for them, you don't get them. And so, what would you like to drink? You say, I'll have water. Okay, great. They're going to bring you water and your entree. They're not going to give you a free dessert just because, well, you're a good customer. So, here's a free dessert. Maybe they do every once in a while, but that's not the norm. And they don't do it for all the customers, right? Because it's not on the menu. It's on the menu, but that's not what you purchased. At any point, you can always purchase an appetizer or drinks or dessert or whatever. It's available to you. But if that's not on the menu, what we're serving is exactly what the customer paid for. And we're going to make it the best version of whatever they paid for every single time. And that's the reason we go back, and I bet you guys do this too. You go to a restaurant and you order the same thing over and over and over and over again, right? Every time you go, I know I do. Why? Because I can count on that one dish being spectacular. They deliver it the best way every single time. I know that I can order extra things, and so do our customers. And we need to be crystal clear about the extras that we do. It's going to be a little garnish here and a little garnish there. It's not going to be a whole free appetizer or dessert or whatever. Okay. It's not scalable, and you don't make money giving stuff away. So I love what Shari said, and I love the way she said it, in that it's quality control. Okay. We're going to deliver the best we can, and it's going to be exactly what we promised by setting expectations in advance.
And it's also okay to say, you know, I think you could use a deep clean right now. It's been a while. Would you like me to do a special job for you? And then you could come do, the deep clean, the closets, whatever it is you're going to do, or the floor work, because that's understood. There's maintenance and then there's special projects. And that's very important to distinguish the two different products that you offer.
We have service providers that come, and some of the service providers that always get my business, and I love this. It's a great approach. They say, hey, you're due for a deep cleaning, or you're due for this or whatever. It's that time again on the calendar for this particular service. When would you like us to schedule it? And I'm like, well, let's see, in 2 weeks or whatever, and just the way they say it, it's just so matter of fact, like, it's time again. Here we go. Okay, let's schedule that. But it goes on the schedule, and there's an extra fee for that, right?
Yes.
It's not free. It's not a freebie.
Yeah. And I don't think people should be shy about that or feel bad about it. It is what it is. And just be matter of fact about it.
Oh, this was so good. And our time is up. Man, I could just keep going and going and going. Shari, you and I are just going to have to start a podcast together and just go at this. This is great. Tell our listeners where they can go to find you.
Okay. If anyone would like to have a conversation or connect, you can find me on LinkedIn, Shari Cedar. You can find us through our company website, AK Building Services. And there we go. Yes, find me, have a conversation, connect. I love talking about cleaning and business and all things related.
Well, I have learned so much from you. And if you have one piece of advice that you want to leave residential cleaners who are thinking about the commercial business, what piece of advice would you give them?
Think carefully, because it is a very different business. While the core tenet of cleaning is the same, the methodology, the insurance, all of the sort of business surrounding the business are different, and the pay scales are different. So just think carefully and wisely before you take that plunge.
Great advice, as always. Oh, I love this. All right, you guys, thanks so much for joining me here today. Thank you, Shari. This has been enlightening and informational and entertaining. So thank you. I appreciate you guys dropping in today to visit with us and to share this information. So until we meet again, leave the world a cleaner place than when you found it.
Yes. Shine brighter.